What's up, everyone? So today I'm going to talk about the different types of matches in buhurt or armored combat or medieval combat, medieval fighting. The actual name for the sport is buhurt. So that's what I'm going to talk about, the different matches today. And I'm not going to go into a deep dive on a ton of examples, but I am going to go through a kind of a generic explanation of each one that we have, at least through the league here in the US, Armored Combat Sports and ACS. First one, team fights. You have 3v3, which is the active amount of fighters, 3 versus 3, and you have 3 to 5 fighters on a team. You have 5 versus 5 with 5 to 8 fighters per team, 10 versus 10 with 10 to 15 fighters, 16 versus 16 with 16 to 21 fighters. Now, sometimes this is called group fights or a melee team fights, melee group fights too. The league H&B historical medieval battle can get as large as 150 versus 150 in the Battle of Nations, so it can get like huge. The way this works is you have your active fighter, so the 3 versus 3, 5 versus 5, etc. And you can sub in the extra ones in between the matches. There's no restrictions to how many you can sub in, or if someone just subbed or what, anything like that. You can sub in whoever. And they just go at it, and the rules are that when you have 3 points of contact to the ground, you're down. And when everyone's down, or it's 3 versus 1 or more, so if one team has 3 or more people and the other team only has 1 person, then the match is over. Or the 3 points of contact, like I just said, the match is over if everybody's down. Sometimes it can get to the last one, right? So the last person standing is the last person winning. There's the very generic rules that I'll go over in a different video, but like can't hit feet, back and knees, can't hit when they're down, can't hit along the spine, can't hit the base of the neck. And then there's a whole bunch of weapon restrictions on how thick and what type of metal and all kinds of stuff, and armor too. So the next type of match is duels. It's 1 versus 1. And it counts clean strikes, among other things, depending on which weapon you're using. There's different like weapon categories for duels. So depending on which weapon, there's some different modifications on the rules. For example, longsword allows kicks and stuff, but not all of them do. Not everything awards points. Kicks don't award points. I don't believe punches award points, but clean strikes definitely do. And that's where it's obvious that the edge has hit clean and easy, not the flat part or somewhere else. They are timed matches, usually 3 rounds for 60 minutes with 60 minutes off. Like I said, some weapons have slightly different rule sets, so it just really depends on which one. And I'll go in a different video, I'll go in deep down into each one and what the difference is, or maybe I'll do it in a short, but I'll explain that in a different one because it can take a while. There's a decent amount of rules on some of this. The different categories are sword and shield, sword and buckler, long sword, great sword, pole axe, long axe. And I think they just added short axe not too long ago, like a year ago. So those categories, have their own competitions with the duels and their own medals and everything else. The next type of match is an all versus all. Sometimes people call it like a battle royale or every man for himself or last man standing. But in this match type, there is no teammates and it's the last man standing is the one to win. You still have your generic rules like, no hit in the back of the knees, no hit on the feet and all that stuff. 3 points of contact to the ground is down. And often when you lose a weapon, you're out too, but that's not all the time. But the last person standing in this is the winner of everything. It's everyone versus everyone. Sometimes you'll see people like make alliances. If you watch my videos, you can totally tell when 2 people are fighting at it and then they look at each other and they're like, and you just see them kind of walk away. They're like, nah, we're done. Let's go get this guy over here. So that technically happens and it's totally allowed. But it is supposed to be every man for himself regardless. There's no anything else to that. It's probably one of the most basic types of matches you can find because outside of the basic rules and the basic requirements on weapons and armor, that's it. You just go out there and fight. This is a lot of what you see in my videos too. We use it on the shows a lot. Team fights, all versus all, and melee duels or knife fights. So the next one I'm going to talk about is pro fights. It's similar to melee rules, but the fights continue on the ground for 10 seconds, and you accumulate more points while you're on the ground. It is a match for 60 to 90 seconds with a 60 to 90 second rest in between. Determining who wins, I'm going to use the H&B rule set for this, but the winner is the best 2 out of 3 matches, and it's scored, so like all the hits and strikes and everything else. It's a slight advantage would be less than 20%. Superiority is more than 20%, less than 50%, and absolute superiority would be 50% or more. I did mean to mention too, this does have weight classes. It's the only match style in this sport that actually uses the weight classes. So you have lightweight, which is less than 75 kilograms. Average is, more than 75 to 85 kilograms. Heavyweight would be to 95 kilograms. And super heavyweight is anything past 95 kilograms. So points are accrued throughout the match, but the winner must have a certain amount to actually win. So there's different types of ways to win, and there's one where it's a pure victory. That's where you got like a knockout, or the points are so high it's like 13-0, and it's a very obvious, they controlled the whole thing. They got the most points. It's a pure victory. You have a technical victory, where someone got disqualified, or an armor failure or weapon failure, or something happened where they couldn't fix it in the allotted amount of time. I believe you get 1 minute for that allotted amount of time if something fails. So that would be a technical victory. And then otherwise the score is 0.5 to 0, and that determines the winner. The next type of match is, a lot of the times it's called a night fight, or I'll say a melee duel a lot of the time, because I don't want people confused with the show. The show on History Channel was a little different. But there is an official Armored Combat Sports rule set for this, but it's also a very generic name that is typically used in show fights and different things like that. Like I said, it's called melee duel. Sometimes people just call it a duel. But it's a night fight. So this is the same basic rule set as all the other ones. It's the last man standing. You're out when you hit 3 points of contact to the ground. So that counts, I didn't mention earlier, that counts your weapon and everything. So if you're sitting there with a knee and a foot and a weapon down, kneeling, that's 3 points of contact to the ground. I'll get more on that in the rules, but that I go over. But you can even be counted depending on how you're laying on someone else's body and stuff. You're allowed to like body surf off. You're allowed to kind of push off. But if you're down and that person is in contact with the ground and you're down on them, you're down. There's no time limit at all. So it just goes as long as it takes to get to this point. And this is probably the match style you see the most from my videos. This is the one where, I say blank versus blank, Grant versus Ireland, happens a lot lately. And we use whatever weapons we want. It's not timed, and it's whoever gets them down. It doesn't matter how, whether it be a hit or a judo throw or a clinch, wrestling, all the above. It's whenever we're out, we're out. A lot of the times that's going to be whenever someone gets way too tired, they're out, or frustrated. Frustrated happens more than you think. I'll go into a deeper explanation, especially with pro fights, and there's another match. It's a team fight, but called chapter matches, specific for Armored Combat Sports League, ACS. I'll have a different video that goes into individually each one of those, and then I'll show some different fights too and kind of explain it even more. I'm also going to have a rules video, so if it's not up already, it's coming. But if it is, go check my channel and see, because that's going to explain a lot of the 3 points of contact, what's allowed. I'll go fairly well into that on everything except like weapon requirements and armor requirements, which is definitely part of the rules and very important, but it's really long. You can go read it for yourself. So yeah, I'll have those videos coming up if they're not already up to show a deeper explanation for all that. Otherwise, that's the types of matches we use in this sport. There's not a ton, and they don't go too complex really. So thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment on what your favorite match type is below. And until next time, y'all.